Hey, hey to the most amazing nurses. It is Dr. V here with Morning Infusion with Dr. V podcast, where we are intentional about teaching nurses how to work from anywhere around the world, making money and owning your own time, building profitable nurse coaching and consulting businesses. You will hear from amazing guests that have grown their companies and want to share insight into how you can do the same to change the face of healthcare as we know it. If you want to grow your businesses and leverage your knowledge as a nurse to grow wildly successful businesses at the top, instead of working your way to the top, head on over and join our Millionaire Nurse CEO group on Facebook, where you can ask questions and get updates on our live and virtual events to help you grow your businesses. Good morning. Good morning. So today I'm super excited, super excited. So we have Cheree here with us. So Cheree, tell us a little bit about who you are. So give us your brief bio. So if someone asks who you are, give us a bio of who you are.
Well, first, good morning. My name is Cheree. I am a nurse, women's health nurse of about 19 years, former Navy nurse, and I am now an accountant. I've been an accountant for about 6 years now and working with individuals in the healthcare space, running and scaling their businesses. So I've worked with private practices, consultants, and now I'm really focusing heavily on the med spa industry.
Okay, so I love that. I love that. So I love to go back to the roots because the roots sometimes we determines the fruit, right? So let's talk about the roots. So tell me about what when you went into the Navy, were you already a nurse or did you go into the Navy and become a nurse while you were in the Navy? Tell me about that.
So when I first went into the Navy, I was an intel specialist. My goal was to be a doctor. So I was in the Navy about 2.5 years, got a scholarship to go to college. So I was in college, I was on the pre-med track, and in the Navy, like 2 or 3 people a year get a scholarship to med school. And I had about a 3.85, and I'm like, that's not high enough. It wasn't going to be high enough to get one of those 3 spots. So I was like, what do I do? And at the time, I wasn't even really sure outside of what you see on TV, what a nurse really does. So I was like, I don't know, what do I do? So I was like, all right, I didn't even realize you can get a degree in nursing. So I was like, okay, I'll do this nursing thing. And it actually ended up being the better decision of the two. So that's essentially how I got started.
Why do you think it's the better decision of the two?
I think the way we're trained as far as our approach to patients is more aligned in what I would have wanted to do. So, when I became a new nurse and I worked at a teaching hospital and I saw how they were trained, or even sometimes the mindset of how to do patient care, I was like, it doesn't quite align with what I wanted to do. And the nursing, because of the holistic approach, was more in tune with what I felt.
So how do you think? So give me the differences though. Like what do you think that they did differently than what nurses do?
Well, for one, the amount of contact you have with your patient is drastically different. Being like, I need to fix, I need to fix, I need to die, need to treat without thinking about like the rest of the patient. I think they're getting a little bit better now, but like, you're advocating, they want to do something with a patient. I'm like, well, we got to think about X, Y, and Z over here. We got to think about what's going on at home, or like maybe support that they have, and how do we, navigate all of that. Sometimes it's just like very like tunnel vision, nothing bad. We all have our roles, but like it's just a different approach to how we take care of the patient. And I think the biggest thing is like how many, how long you actually see the patient. We're seeing the patients a lot more than maybe the physician will. So we have a lot more interaction with them, understanding what they're going through. So I kind of like that better.
And that's a very great point because, someone said this one day and they were talking about the fact that whenever you give a patient Lasix, for example, right, and the patient drives the city bus, right, you give the patient LASIK. The patient drives the city bus. The patient ain't gonna take the LASIK, right?
Right.
Because the patient has to stop and go to the bathroom all the time. And so we have to consider holistically the patient instead of just thinking about fixing the specific problem and considering how we fit what we do into the patient's lives. So I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
How you did that. So okay, now you went into women's health, and then of course, y'all are I love y'all, okay, because y'all are my people. And the reason why I love you is because y'all are the people that I will send all of my L&D people to, okay? Because I'm not trying to deliver anybody's children. I'm an ER nurse. So now tell me a little bit about you came out of the Navy and then you started your own business. Let's talk about your business.
So I started, it's funny because when I was in the Navy, I was like, I'm never going back to school, ever going back to school. And then like literally 9 months later, I'm in my MBA program. So I always wanted to start a business. So I figured MBA was the best way to learn how to start a business. So I was women's health. So I wanted to be a midwife. I wanted to own a birthing center, got my MBA, fell in love with the accounting piece. I was actually going to finish and do the CPA track, but then I was like, I'm doing too much. But I got the MBA. I was in the Navy, got out of the Navy, and then I started various different businesses. I had my lactation, so I started like pump rental, and I had an e-commerce business for new and expecting moms. When I was in my MBA program, I did my thesis or business plan on an extended day daycare because we work 7 to 7, daycare 6 to 6. What are we doing? What are we doing? So it was all laid out. So I still actually have it somewhere in here, but it was all laid out. I think what happened was I was talking to a broker, and they hit me with how much money I had to put up, and I just kind of like stopped. And I wish I didn't. I wish I had someone in my corner to like coach me through it because I probably would have been rich by now. But didn't do that. Then I started doing other things, and like they weren't really what I wanted to do. So I was like, I have a whole MBA. Why don't I just use that and work with other business owners and help them like just do business to business versus business to consumer? So I ended up with a program that teaches you how to start that business. And I've been doing that since 2016.
So tell me about the business. Tell me what is the business exactly?
Okay. So basically, I offer full service accounting to business owners. So it's essentially compliance and consulting. So what I do is I help them essentially take their numbers and create a story for them, help them understand what their numbers are telling them, which direction they need to be going in. Obviously, compliance and tax too, but really I kind of work with them hand in hand, making sure all that stuff is up to date, and then taking that information and let's figure out, are you profiting? Which service lines are better for you? Where you should focus your marketing efforts on? Are you ready to open, this next location? Are you, should you even stay open? Where do we need to go?
So one of the things that I like about accounting is that I really didn't know the value of accounting when I first started. I didn't understand the value. Like I meet with my accountant every single solitary month, every
Mm-hmm.
one of them. Okay. Now I want everyone on this live. I want you to, whether you're rewatching it, whether it's the replay, I don't care what, you need to reach out to Cheree because let me help you to understand that accounting in your business is incredibly important. It is the number one thing. You need a profit and loss sheet. You need to understand where you're going. So tell us about the reasons why important. So talk about profit and loss sheets.
Ooh, okay. So your profit and loss sheet will actually tell you what it means. Are you profiting or are you losing money? So it's kind of like one of the base and like the standard document that you'll be using. We have other financial reports, but that's your standard. So if it's set up correctly, if your accounting system is set up correctly, that profit and loss can tell you things like if you're selling more than one product, it'll tell you which one is generating the most revenue. It should tell you even though it generates the most revenue, it might not be the most profitable for you. So I work with different clients and I'll say, hey, out of all these service lines, these are your top 3 right here. Why are you marketing X when you should be marketing these 3? Or what are we doing about, bringing more money in for this service line, when I only see like 2% of your revenue here. So it'll tell you things like that. It'll tell you about your expenses. I've caught people, I've caught fraud. We've caught like duplicate expenses. It'll tell you things. It'll just give you a story. So for instance, this summer, everybody's like, oh, no one's coming in for injectables. Like no one's coming to my med spa this summer. Well, it's typical in the summer to have low revenue, or like people on vacation, they're doing all kinds of stuff. But if you don't know that, or you don't know your personal trends, you can't plan for anything. So now people who, unfortunately open like in July or August are like, oh my God, I'm failing. You're probably not failing. It's just probably like the season, right? But we know now. So then come January time comes in your marketing plan, we're going to figure out what we can do, February, March, April, May, so that when we have these slow months, you still have money in the bank. So these profit and loss can help you figure out trends too.
So give me an example, and there's 2 questions I need to ask from that. So give me an example of something that's done fraudulently.
So I had a client that had like, she had like a subscription and she stopped it. It never stopped, or somebody was using her bank account. She just never looked at her check. She just never looked at it. So I'm looking at this thing and I can see every month what it's supposed to be. So if I see dues and subscriptions are generally like $2,000 a month, and then it jumps to like $6,000 or $4,000, what do we do here? We can drill down and see what happens. I'm like, hey, what is this? I've never seen this before. I don't know what that is. And then it ended up being fraud. So she was able to at least go back to the bank and try to get her money back. But if you're not looking at that stuff, and people who like tend to bring in a lot of revenue, they may not look at a lot of things because you're not essentially missing money. But, she was able to figure that out and get that fixed. And then, like I said, we have duplicate things. She was, another person had cash flow issues, but I'm like, well, what is this subscription and it was to bring people into her gym. I'm like, well, are they bringing people into your gym? Like, no. Okay, let's get rid of it. So things like that.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Now, I'm a firm believer. Now, I'm a numbers person. I'm a firm believer that you need to look at your numbers every morning. I look at my numbers every morning, every single solitary one of them. I got up this morning, I looked at my numbers, because when you're running Facebook ads, my bank account, I tell people all the time, if you're going to steal some money from me, you better do it within the last 24 hours, okay? Because I'm going to catch you, okay? Because there's this little Facebook, there was this little Facebook pirates when I was out of the country, and they were trying to siphon some money out of my account, but I saw it.
Right.
Able to call and get it, and they were like, well, that's fraudulent behavior, and I knew it was, right? But you won't know that until you see that. So I love that. Okay, so now this is another thing that really, really interests me, that I love about what you've done with your services. Okay, now you have niched down. I mean, you are very niche. Okay, so tell me about that. How did you even get to that point that you got to specifically med spa owners? Because you do accounting for med spa owners. And let me tell you, first tell me the value of that.
Okay, so the value of niching, for anyone, it makes you an expert. So I had to do a lot of studying. This is a very nuanced industry. So I had to learn a lot. There's a lot of legal things, and with the legal comes how to manage your money. So in order for you to understand how to do accounting for med spas, you got to understand like everything else that they're going through. So with that being said, so many people are calling me like, oh, you actually know what Juvo is, you know what this is, you know what an IPL is. So a lot of people don't know, or the MSO structure. My accountant doesn't know anything about that. I'm trying to explain it to them, and they can't answer any questions. It's a very nuanced industry. So you have to understand what's going on with the people that you're working with so that you can actually do these things. Anyone can just give you the profit and loss and just say you're profitable. But if they don't know, that fillers or injectables, your cost of goods are about, 50% or something like that. So if they see something that's too high, they won't know. They won't know if you're not really profitable or not. If they don't know what your industry's, gross profit margin is supposed to be, they can't tell you. I have a client now who's, retails about 8% of revenue. And I'm like, no, we need to triple that. Like everyone should be leaving your med spa with something in their hands to keep, to keep them maintained between now and to their next visit. So, if they don't know these things, they don't know the KPIs or key performance indicators, they can't really help you.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Now, tell me what made you niche. I'm going to ask that question. We're going to go to a commercial. What made you niche to this specific industry? Hold on. Our live event is going down twice a year in Rocky Mount, North Carolina, called the Millionaire Nurse CEO Conference. We will be covering the blueprint and master plan to grow a wealthy and flourishing company. We love that you listen to the podcast, but we want you in the room. We will be sharing insights on marketing and sales strategies so that you are able to create more impact and make more money, creating more freedom so that you can do the things that you love. So join us for the nursing event of the century. Go to vpnursing.com to sign up for this life-changing event. Okay, now we're back. Now, tell me about what made you niche down to this specific industry.
It's funny because when I first started, I was thinking about niching to med spas, right? And the number one reason, I'm a nurse. I know a lot of nurses open med spas, or a lot of nurse practitioners who are running med spas. So I kind of like wanted to work with my people, so to speak. And then in the beginning, I was going to do that. Then I decided maybe that's too small. So I kind of branched out. So, like with anything, you just start running a business, you're feeling like you're limiting yourself and you need this revenue, right? So it went from med spas, and then I opened it up to all medical practices, and then like all service-based. And then I started to like really slowly niche down again. And then it really wasn't until like maybe last year, I'm like, nope, I'm going to do what I said I'm going to do. And I'm going to work with med spas. So that's how I got there. And it's turned out to be pretty good, pretty lucrative. It's a need.
So do you utilize med spas?
I have not utilized med spas. I'm thinking about trying out the IV infusions. I don't know if I need like injectables or things just yet, but I have a spa. I did a TikTok story about a spa experience, about wanting to go for a facial, and I used it as a teaching video on like how to sell. And they actually had like the hydrofacial and things like that, but no one talked to me about it. No one kind of like asked me about like facial concerns and like I was like, you have like 30,000 facials here. I don't know what to pick. Like, you have like paralysis when you see a menu that has like 55 things. And I'm like, I don't know what this stuff means. And then he used all the big words. Like, you understand what this means. I don't know what this enzyme is or whatever. Just tell me, make your menu say something beneficial. I have no idea what you're talking about. But when I got there, I was like, oh, they have a hydrofacial, because they just opened a med spa section of this spa. No one talked to me about it. I think next time I go, I'm gonna go and try the hydrofacial and like see if they'll talk to me about the benefits and which one I need and which boosters. But no one talked to me about it, which I found. I was like, you could have easily made another $100 and something off of me at least. Didn't send me home with skincare. Like they had a whole wall of skincare. Didn't send me home with skincare. I was like, I could offer, but I was like, let me just use this as a teaching thing. But no, I'm starting to find out, because I'm virtual, so I work with clients everywhere, but I'm starting to see all the ones in my area, and all the services, the different services that they provide. But I'm really looking for someone that's actually going to give me that consultation and tell me what I need for my skin, to see what's beneficial for me.
Well, I mean, I don't think you need any, but that's just me, okay? I'm think you need it. But, of course, I would be remiss to my med spa owners. I mean, I'm going to refer you.
Right. I'm like, everyone can use it. Everyone can use a little facial, some rejuvenation. But like, you gotta sell that service. Like when, I always wonder sometimes, like, what is your consultations, looking like? I see a lot of things online. A lot of people, when they talk about, oh, I can't charge this much because this person down the street is charging this. And I'm like, well, what are you doing? What are you doing differently? What is your consultation? I think because med spas are kind of like this in between retail and service, they sell their medical treatments like a retail product. And I want to talk to someone and figure out, why are we doing this, and why don't we try to do this a different way? Because really it's medical and it's a treatment plan. So if I come to you and I have like a specific concern, I want you to lay out a treatment plan for me and then just tell me the cost of this treatment plan. I don't know why they're like competing by, units, or like $5 units, $6 units. Like I should never as a patient be able to come into you and be like, only give me 10 units right here. Like, what do I know? You know what I mean? Like, you're the provider. I've seen stories like that. Like, oh, someone came in, they only wanted 10 units because of the price. And I'm like, we got to figure out how to stop selling by units for things and like sell by service.
And I think one of the things that is very key for me is experience, right? And so I don't care where I'm going. Like, and I tell people all the time, and my beautician's name is Brittany Sutton. I'll tell people all the time on a regular basis. The reason why I go to this child is because, she's a woman. She's not as old as I am, for sure. But she is. But when I go to her, first of all, she does not make me wait. Okay. I don't wait. I get in the chair. She takes my hair down. She puts my hair back up. She washes my hair. She does it all like within a very short amount of time. I don't have to wait a whole long time in order to get it done. So for me, it's the experience of going there and getting it done. So for me, that is what it's all about. And so I think that when you're thinking about any type of where you have competition, you want to think about the experience, enhancing that experience. When you enhance that experience, then people will come to you. They're going to come to you no matter what. And so if I come to you and you're a super, bubbly and nice, people come to people for people. They don't come to people because of the price, right? Because I'm coming to my transformation. And as long as my transformation is good, and as long as you are super good to me, then I'm going to keep coming to you. I'm not going to come to, Joe Blow down the street. So.
Of course. Right. And then I'm like, well, are these the people you really want too? If I'm hopping from med spa to med spa looking for the best price on injectable, I'm like, well, first of all, it's medical. So like, somebody started your treatment, then you run to somebody else for the next treatment, and then they got to figure out what happened the first time. And it may not seem like that big a deal, but once again, I'm in the groups and I'm listening to what can go wrong, or, what people may say after the fact. So yeah, you got to really think about the type of client you want as well and cater to them.
So talk to me about planning, because when this is the game. I mean, and whether we want to admit it or not, and a lot of people don't admit it, but it is a game. Money is a game, okay? And when you think about how it is played, right? It is your taxable income. You play your taxable income based off of profit and loss. And so why would you want to have a loss in the business, and why would you want to have a profit? So talk about that a little bit.
All right. So my personal goal is to always have a profit.
Okay.
Or at least to have cash flow. I'm not saying that you can't have a successful business and have a loss. I think really probably the real key is cash flow, because there are going to always be times where things happen and maybe it wasn't a great year. For instance, I have a client that profits every year, and last year had a huge loss, and that's because of a back tax issue. So it wasn't a concerning loss. It was like to be expected. And if it wasn't for the, paying that big lump of back taxes, they would definitely have a profit. I think it's important to know where you stand. Definitely know where you stand, and then actually have money in the bank, because you can be profitable with no cash in the bank, and you can run losses every year and have buckets load of money in the bank. So for me, do I have cash to use? Do I have liquid assets? So if something happens like the summer, there's a drought, can I still pay my people? Can I still pay myself? Can I pay the rent?
But you may still have a loss with still
Yes.
paying everybody, but I think that that's the key, is that you're still paying everybody. You still have a loss in the business. You still don't pay taxes for that next year because you still have a loss in your business, correct?
Right. So if you have a loss, you can apply it again. You can apply at least some of your losses to your tax return. And so it's different depending on, what type, am I LLC, am I S Corp, am I a C Corp? So it's all a little bit different. So if you do have losses, you can apply them to your tax return. And it's only up to a certain level. So whatever other income you have, you can apply your losses against that income. And then if you have losses that are left over, they can probably carry over. So I think for some people, it may be beneficial to try to operate as a loss if if you think that you're going to have a big tax bill. I personally, I think I want to always profit. I just want to my business be successful. I don't want to necessarily have a loss every single year, unless it's depending on what we're talking about. We have that one off. But if I'm not making any money, why? Why am I not making any money? Is it most people are not really doing it for a tax strategy? They're either doing it because there's something managing the business. Like we're not like Amazon where they might be purposely doing it for something. Most of us, we're running losses probably because we're not managing correctly or we haven't figured out what's profitable. So it's a little bit different. Then after a while, the IRS is probably gonna be like, "Are you running a business? Are you really running a business?" So you got to be like very careful with that. But losses can be beneficial to you, especially if you carry over. Like, say I had a loss this year, I couldn't use all of my losses, but then for some strange reason, I have a six-figure profit next year, or be blessed to have it. But I can apply some of those losses against the next year, if
And
that makes sense.
the profits that you have the profits. And when I mean profits, I mean you want to make sure that you have cash flow going through your business. I don't care whether you have a profit or a loss, quote unquote,
Right.
period. Okay.
Yes.
So it doesn't matter. So when you have the profit for the year, then you want to have that profit so that you can, like, for the next year, if you want to purchase like a home or in the business name, or you want to purchase a car in the business name, whatever you want to do. Correct?
Right. So I think we're mainly talking cash flow because, like, again, you can have a profit and no cash in the bank. So it's really about, you want to make sure you have income coming in. Now, whether that income turns into a profit or a loss is something totally different. We just want to make sure the money is coming in and we have some put away so that when we need to scale, we need to buy, you know, maybe a large piece of equipment, depending on what type of business we have, or we want to add more to our travel next year or whatever. We want to make sure we have that money in the bank. So that means, are we getting more clients? Are we getting more patients? And do we have a consistent way of getting them over and over again so that you have that cash in the bank? Now, at the end of the year, you may have a loss because maybe you did a build out. That's okay. But you just want to make sure that you're not like, money came in May, but nothing came in June or July, and then maybe it came back in August. You want to make sure it's consistent. So that way you always have something. You want to put something away. When this money comes in, we all like, oh, I got this idea. I can buy this, I can buy that. You want to start putting some money away too, because you want to plan for those slow days, those slow moments.
Gotcha. Now, how much money, I'm asking you this, how much money have you, the most amount of money that you have saved somebody in your business?
Oh, so I have a client that went through a sales tax audit, and we saved him about $16,000 on that. Um, I had another client. Mostly it's about 5 figures when it comes to saving, and it could be like the sales tax audit. I'll talk about that for a second. So it's a client who had vending machines, and after COVID, like Maryland was like going door to door to businesses. They were looking for money, right? So they saw that, you're thinking, oh, I just have vending machines for my clients. It's not like, what a big deal. Well, there's sales tax on it. So we had these things for 6 years. So when I first met this individual, they had just bought like the desktop version of QuickBooks, and they were going to try to configure 6 years worth of books by themselves without knowing liability from an asset to expense. So got him in the nick of time. But being able to trace his money, I was able to see things and talk to the auditors and like, oh, okay, I think you missed this, or I looked at their reports and we kind of saved him a decent amount of money because he could have paid, oh God, he could have paid so much money if he didn't have the right documents, or if it wasn't laid out the way it was supposed to be.
I love it. I love it. This is the value of having a great CPA. So for your med spa owner, Cheree, tell us where they can find you.
Yeah, so you can find me at chereehill.com. If you're specifically a med spa, chereehill.com. Or you can also find me at tranquilitybookkeepingservices.com. I'm also on Instagram, Small Biz Bookkeeper, and TikTok as well, Small Biz Bookkeeper.
Go follow Cheree. She is amazing. Okay, go follow her. Get her for your bookkeeping services. Get for your accounting services. Okay, because bookkeeping, that's just part of it. All right. So anyway, of course, the Millionaire Nurse CEO Conference is coming up next week, guys. Next week. Woo! Excited. Tickets will shut down on Friday. Friday, this coming up Friday. I don't know what the date is, but it will. We will no longer have it on that date. So I encourage you to go and get your ticket. And you guys have a phenomenal rest of your day. And thank you, Cheree, for showing up this morning for us. And you guys have a phenomenal.
Thank you for having me.
All right.